7.8 amps. We are still charging the MB56 do-it-yourself kit here. Still charging after almost a week. Disconnected in parallel to the other Yixiang boxes here to the Powerwall 2. It's charging from solar, and I was not able to fully charge this MB56 battery since I went on holiday. Guys, welcome back to the Off-Kit Garage here after my holiday. Look at this beautiful weather outside. We had actually some rain last night for the very first time after probably 3 months or so. You can see all the grass is basically dead at the moment, so we desperately need some rain. But all we get is sunshine. I've got 8190 amps outside at the moment. I'm running the charger on limited mode. Yeah, because I've got all these batteries connected in parallel now. And the circuit breaker to these additional batteries is only 63 amps. So I didn't want to risk it trips while I was not here. So I've limited actually the charging current into the batteries to, I think, 80 amps or so. But still I could not see the MB56 battery reaching close to 55 volts. All the other batteries are fine. They have all balanced across each other, but the MB56 is still lagging behind. So it needs a bit more charge. Hopefully we can do this today. As you can see, I've already put the adjustable power supply here on top. So we will use this one here to charge it to 55, 56, 57 volts. Do a full top balancing of all the cells and then do a full capacity test. So we are trying to drive the cars down as much as possible because these are 35 kilowatt hours here and they need to be dumped into one of the vehicles or even both maybe, because I don't want to waste this energy. As always, when we do battery testing, we are trying to reuse most of this energy as much as possible. So we will do the same this time. Alright, and thanks to the JK-BMS, we can see all the details here. We have to go to the Yixiang stack and can have a look at the MB56 battery at the top here. It's charging with 7 amps. The other two Yixiang batteries at the bottom are charging with 2 amps each. Even the JK inverter BMS shows 99, 99 and 94% state of charge. I think 94 is more realistic than 99%. All right, let's give it some time and see when the voltage actually rises. So most of the batteries have stopped charging. Google stack has stopped charging. Jackie stack, only the top battery is a bit charging, 7 watts. And the Yixiang stack has also stopped charging, with the bottom batteries reaching 55.1 volts and the MB56 still charging with 10 amps. And that's what I saw all the time. So during my holiday, I got these weird messages every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, that there is an issue with the SPET calibration center. And then a few seconds later came a second message and said it was cleared again, and I didn't know what's going on. And of course I checked the VRM on the mobile phone, and in the alarm logs I could see all these high charge current alarms, warnings. And they lasted sometimes only for a few seconds, sometimes for a few minutes, 5 minutes. Very short overcurrent alarms from the JK inverter BMS. And I thought, what is going on? I've got so many batteries in parallel. Why do I get an overcurrent alarm? It's impossible, yeah? So when I came back from vacation, I checked here in the garage while this overcurrent occurred. And I could see this was coming from our friend, the MB56 battery. And you would think, this is a big battery, how can I get an overcurrent alarm? Yeah. So what I did before I went on holiday was I set all the BMSs to 40 amps charging and discharging, yeah. And while all the other batteries were fairly balanced already, the 63 amps, they spread across all these other batteries and the current per battery was fairly low. But for the MB56, because it was in such a low state of charge, voltage was the same almost, but lower state of charge. It obviously took a lot more current then, especially when the other batteries filled up at noontime. And then all the 63 amps wanted to go into the MB56 battery, and because I set all the BMSs the same way, and me stupid have set the 40 amps into the MB56 as well. And of course, because this is a big battery, the charge current was a bit over 40 amps, and the JK-BMS in the MB56 battery triggered this overcurrent alarm just for a few seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the weather and incoming current. So after I came back, I fixed this and changed this to 60 amps and there was no issue anymore. So, and that's why the MB56 was not fully charged even after a week, because someone set the wrong charge current in the BMS. but better too low than too high. So I put really conservative numbers here in all the BMS because I wasn't here and I had no access to any of the BMS. So I took it really safe and let the BMS disconnect at a very low charge current already. So that was good. You know, and I wonder how they can be in parallel and the voltage is only 53.82. So I think the BMS is not calibrated and the voltage is completely wrong what it shows here in the app. So let's do a voltage measurement here of the battery and see if we have to calibrate the BMS. Okay, my friends, we are still charging the MB56 cell. We are at 55.14 volts, charging with 10 amps. The balancer is already running because cell number 5 is... Man, cell number 5 is at 3.6 volts already. And we haven't touched cell number 5. There is a bit of imbalance in these cells. We have only touched cell number 1 and 2, obviously. So they are a bit lower than the rest. Only cell number 5 and cell number 16, which are higher, which we haven't touched. 1 and 2, as we know, we have tested, so I haven't recharged them as much as they needed. So it may take quite a bit of time to actually balance out this pack here. I'm not sure if we can actually do it today then, because it will take a long time. There could be 10-15 ampere hours missing for cell number 1 to catch up. Cell number 3 is at 3.5 as well. Wow. Cell number 5 is climbing. I think we will see a overvoltage disconnect at some stage with cell number 5, because we are still charging with 9 amps and we are only balancing with 2 amps. So 7 amps are still going into all of these cells here, including cell number 5, 3 and 16. So they will rise in voltage continuously until they hit the 3.65, yes. And then the whole charging will stop here. Okay, let's leave it running. We are almost at 55.2 volts, so the current should actually taper off more and more. But this will take a long time for the JK-BMS to balance out. And it is quite unusual that we have such a high deviation across all these cells, because they should be charged with the exact same amount of energy before delivery from the manufacturer, from EVE. They are a bit all over the place, right? We've got 244 millivolt deviation at the moment, and cell number 5 is very close to reach 3.65. Alright, let's keep it running and see what's going on. I'll keep you posted. Jeez. Alright, my friends, there we have it. We have a cell overvoltage alarm. It says the battery is fully charged. That is the alarm, but it doesn't reflect the real cause. Yeah, we've got an overvoltage protection with cell number 5. So the charge MOSFET is obviously turned off. And we can see the red light alarm here. But if we have a look in the master BMS, it says alarm normal. There's no alarm for any of the BMSs. And we go into packs, pack number 5. Yeah, this one shows an alarm, but it doesn't say which alarm. And you can see the charger is off, discharging is on, but this alarm does not come through to the master. It may not even reduce your charging current now. So I have now isolated the batteries from all the other batteries here. I've connected the negative of the power supply over there, positive over there, and we are just charging this battery now to 55 volts with the power supply. I don't want to go higher because I don't want to trigger an over voltage protection and then the charger turns off. So I rather charge a bit slower but steady. Let's have a look what is going on here. So we have 184 millivolt deviation at 55 volts. Yeah, we are still charging with 1 amp, but obviously we are also balancing with 2 amps. So 3, 5 and 16 are still over 3.5 volts. All the other ones are below. Cell number 10 is actually under 3.4. Cell number 11 as well. 8, 4. So there is a bit of a mix of cells here now in this pack. And we just let this balance at 55 volts. So this is basically what you can do with a new battery. You don't have to parallel all the cells anymore. You just put them in the case here and let the JK do the top balancing. Increase the voltage slowly to 55. Once you reach, say, 57 volts, 57.5, something like this, the battery is fully top balanced, and then you are good to go. It all depends on how good your cells are matched. These ones seem to be a bit all over the place here for whatever reason, but we have seen other deliveries from Yixiang with the MB31 cells. They were all 100% matched. So we just need to be a bit patient here to get this all balanced. Well, if you're getting too impatient, we can always open the case here and put the charger just on cell number 1 and recharge this one a little bit. But it only saves you a bit of time, makes you more work. You have to open the case and charge only one cell and monitor it and everything. So this is the fully automatic top balancing now. Just set, forget and wait until it's fully balanced. All right, my friends, 55 volts. 10 milliamps only. So we should be fairly balanced here. What do we have? Yeah, we can see cell number 14 is now the lowest, not cell number 1 anymore. It is changing, going across all your cells. That's what you want. 8 millivolt deviation we have. Perfect. So this took now around 16 hours or so. So you just let it sit there and it does its thing, and eventually it's completely balanced. Perfect. So what we do now is increase the voltage to 56 volts. This will obviously start a charge current again, and then we wait until the battery is balanced again at 56 volts. Then we increase to 57, and if they are all balanced, then I would consider this as fully top balanced. And that's all you need to do. Yeah, very easy process to automatically top balance your battery. So we just need to wait until we reach the 56 volts, shouldn't take long, and then we are good to go for another jump. So, and another 10 minutes later we are at 56 volts, still charging 160 milliamps. How does it look like? 9 millivolt deviation, so the balancer is actually off under 10 millivolt, and everything seems to be nice and balanced. Okay, then let's increase the voltage to 57 and see what's going on. Charging with 5 amps again. See you in 5 minutes. Alright, 3 minutes later, 57 volts, 860 milliamps, and we are at 10 millivolt deviation, and that's basically it. All the cells are over 3.55 volts. Yeah, so there's very little benefit, if any at all, to further increase the voltage over 55 volts with your battery. You're not gaining any capacity, and the balancing is already done at 55 volts with the JK-BMS, so that is all good. I would say this one is 100% top balanced, 8 millivolt deviation now. Alright, my friends, welcome back to the Overcurrent Garage here for the biggest discharge test we have ever done. Discharging and measuring the MB56 battery. So let's hope for the 35 kilowatt hours, right? Okay, yesterday we have charged the battery to 57 volts already and have done a top balancing, so it is now at 56 volts. Let's see, we've got 18 millivolt deviation, bit of balancing going on. I have already installed the smart shunt test here in the negative path of the BMS. 2 battery negative, 2 system minus, correctly connected. Yeah, I've done this the wrong way around in the past, so we had to restart the test after a while. After I realized all the other batteries are turned off, even the battery shelf is turned off at the moment. Yeah, all the breakers are down. So the MB56 is running the whole show here at the moment. And this is because we need a fairly high discharge current now of around 100 amps. And I have only a 63 amp circuit breaker in here, which connects all these batteries here back to the battery shelf. So obviously we can only use like 65 amps here through this connection, but we will also use the Phoenix inverter connected to the Powerwall 2.0. So this inverter is basically connected before we hit the 63 amp limit. So 2 kilowatt there, 3.5 kilowatt there, should be roughly give us 100 amps of discharge current for this battery then. Is it looking? 12 milliamp deviation. That is at 56 volts. Okay, increase the voltage here again to 57 volts. So this is now coming from the MPPT solar charge controllers. They charge via the bus bar up there through the 63 amp into the Powerwall 2, and this is now connected to the MB56. It is a bit of a setup here, but I need to have both inverters connected to reach this high current. Alright, we are charging this battery now to 57 volts, which we have reached right now. 26 millivolt deviation, still balancing a bit. Okay, give this a few minutes here until we come down to 10 millivolt deviation, and then we should be good to go. Of course, we also have to turn off all the solar chargers. Yeah, I will flick the breakers up there. This disconnects all the solar incoming into these MPPTs. I've already turned off the tilt system, so there's no AC power coming into the multi-plus anymore, because we only want to discharge this battery now. Yeah, there should be no charge coming in, because this will of course offset our result then. It would be wrong. We are still charging and discharging depending where the current is coming from, because this is the only battery at the moment in the whole system. But we are at 57 volts, we are at 13 millivolt deviation. I would consider all these cells are now top balanced, and we can start with a discharge test. There's no benefit to charge these batteries to 3.6 or even 3.65 volts. No additional gain of capacity. Alright, so battery seems to be good. Okay, we need to change the discharge current to 150 amps for this test here. Charge current is 80 amps, that's fine, we're not charging it, we're only discharging it, yeah, 150 amps maximum, just for safety purposes. And we also want to have a look at the smart shunt test. It is on 100%, shows us the voltage as well as the current, which is 0. Let's go into history and reset this all. Okay, so this is all now on 0 ampere hours, 0 kilowatt hours, nothing. And this means we can start the test. We will turn off all the solar chargers now. So they are all off. Tilt system is turned off. We should only ever discharge the battery now. 25 amps already. Okay, this is already 1.3 kilowatts now. So I put my vehicle on 70%. Charge target, we are charging with 8 amps. See, this is already 66 amps now. So what I will do is turn on this extra inverter, which should kick in. And this should supply around 2 kilowatts directly from the battery through the smart shunt though, but it's not going through the 63 amp breaker bottleneck. So let's measure what is coming. 24 amps only, nice. So we are far under the 63 amps of the circuit breaker. All right, let's go into Home Assistant and we start charging my wife's vehicle as well, potentially with 8 amps, 6 amps first to see what's going on. I set hers to 80%. We turn on the Victron electrical vehicle charger and we should see an increase now in current here. Alright, there we go, 100 amps we are pulling, charging both vehicles. Pool pump is running and some other loads here in the garage like the light and the computer and everything. Okay, let's check on our 63 amp circuit breaker. How much we pull there, 32 amps only, that's perfect. I think I want to leave this here just in case some other loads are coming on. I don't want to overload anything and having this 63 amp circuit breaker tripping. So we discharge the battery with 100 amps. And the smart shunt claims it will take 7 hours and 2 minutes, which could be correct. It could be even longer because we know this is not 628 ampere hours. This might be more than 670, 680 ampere hours or so. So it will take a long time, yeah. And we also want to monitor the temperatures in this BMS here, what we are measuring. So the highest temperature, no, hang on. We go into the JK app. There we go. And here we can see all the temperatures, 25, 26, 27. 27 is the highest. And this is what it shows here as well on the display. That's how we start. Right, let's have a quick look how the battery is performing after a couple of minutes with 100 amps. We can see the bus bar here at 35 degrees. But when I touch them, they feel actually cold. So they all look the same. That's good. Very nice and consistent. We have torqued them with 4 Newton meters. And now we come to the front of the do-it-yourself box. We can see 50 degrees on the fuse. Whoa. And also here the connection to the circuit breaker seems to be heating up a little bit. Let me see if I can feel that. Yeah, it's a bit warm. Just checking. No, it's definitely tightened. Fuse 50 degrees. Yeah, it's a bit warm. We can certainly measure the voltage drop on the fuse and breaker in a second. Yeah, so far this all looks good. Yeah, and this is also something I wanted to highlight with you with the MB56 do-it-yourself kit here, or in fact with any stacked battery box. Doesn't need to be the MB56 box. Some companies do this with MB30 or 31 cells as well. They stack them on top of each other, and well, with this infrared camera we can only check on the top level battery. Yeah, we cannot access the batteries below that anymore, so we don't know if there's any hotspot somewhere. And this is a real downside of these vertical boxes where you have batteries stacked on top of each other. But there's probably nothing you can really do about it, right? Let's have a look here. JK inverter BMS, 41 degrees on the negative terminal. The BMS seems to be fairly cool. That's the display. Circuit breaker shows some hotspot down there. That's probably the bottom connection. So here you can see it again. Yeah, the hotspot is definitely at the connection to the circuit breaker, because the bus bar is smaller in this area and therefore it heats up a lot more than in other areas. So as we can see, the bus bar going into the circuit breaker and coming out of the circuit breaker are actually a hotspot in this section here. And this is because, if you remember the last video, I've shown you especially these two bus bars. What Yixiang did, they just cut away a bit of the bus bar, so effectively making the conductor smaller. So, and now here at 100 amps we can already see and feel it. Definitely feel it, that this causes a hotspot in this front section. Back then I've already reported this to Yixiang and they're working on a solution. They have to somehow keep the same diameter of this bus bar. They cannot just cut away a little bit to make it fit into the circuit breaker. So then let's measure the voltage drop on this fuse. Positive goes over here, negative there. And we have 36 millivolt of voltage drop at 100 amps. So this means 3.7 watts we are losing. Yeah, and let's do the same here on the breaker. 35 millivolts, so the same. So 3.5 watts of loss on the breaker plus another 3.5 on the fuse makes 7 watts totally loss on these two devices at 100 amps. During this test I will constantly monitor the situation here inside this room, measure amps, voltages and temperatures, making sure nothing is overloaded or so, because both inverters are running now, both vehicles are charging. I've got load here. I do a battery test here on the workbench at the moment. So there's a lot going on and to take care of. So 7-hour test, that will be, I've got now 7, that will be close to SPAT o'clock. Guys, thank you so much for all your donations here to the Overcurrent Garage. Really appreciate you are buying me a beer, because it is sunny and hot. Alright, you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and we will see us again shortly after sunset. Alright, we have now reached 30% state of charge, but this is just what the JK inverter BMS claims. Let's have a look at the smart shunt test, because this one says we are at 50% state of charge. And it makes a lot of more sense, because we have discharged now 322 ampere hours times 2 makes 644, and this is for a 628 ampere hour rated battery, so that makes far more sense than the JK inverter BMS. So we have drawn 16.9 kilowatt hours at 50% state of charge. That means we get another 17 kilowatt hours out of it until it's empty, so we are getting close to 34 kilowatt hours out of one single battery. That is pretty cool. So we are just under 52 volts, discharging with 90 amps, 4.7 kilowatts, and another 3 hours and 26 minutes to go. Alright, I guess see you then. Alright my friends, just in time. We have discharged 628 ampere hours out of this battery. Yeah, that's exactly the rated capacity of the MB56 cells. But we are still going. Look at this, we are at just over 49 volts. That means we are at, let's have a look at the BMS. Yeah, all the cells are still over 3 volts, almost 3.1. Look at this shit, huh? And the battery is still going strong. So BMS claims 1%, and I think the smart shunt was on 0%, right? Yes. So we are in no man's land at the moment, still discharging. And up here the multiplus already says low battery. I think I've set this to 50 volts or so. So when the battery goes under 50, it starts flashing. Doesn't mean anything, it's still running fine. It's just an optical, just an alarm showing the batteries are tired. Batteries are at 2.9 volts, so we are dipping under 48 volt now, pack voltage. And what I want to do is, or very soon, is to separate these two systems again, yeah, the battery shelf and the Powerwall 2.0. At the moment everything is running from this battery here, but I really want to avoid that the multiplus turns off because all the equipment is running from it here. So I want to turn on the battery shelf again, at least one battery, and at the same time turn off the circuit breaker which links the battery shelf and the Powerwall 2.0. So I've got two separate systems again, but the MB56 battery will still power the Phoenix inverter, which then feeds AC into the multiplus again. So we are still discharging, just on a reduced power output. And this is fine because we are slowly going towards the end of this test here, 2.9 volts and 97 millivolt deviation. That is actually quite a lot at 48 volts. So we're having another look at the BMS here. We are just under 47 volts and current is 68 amps. So cell number 5 is our lowest by far, 2.8, and number 2, look at this, it just changed. Okay, all the other cells are over 2.9 volts. These are the only ones below 2.9 volts. 107 millivolt deviation we have. Temperature sensors 36, 37 T2. This is in the bottom part of the battery. Smart chart shows us 644.3 ampere hours discharged so far, which is 33.7 kilowatt hours. I don't think we will get 35 kilowatt hours, so we are just short by 1 kilowatt hour maybe. But this was just a guess all the time. 35 kilowatt hour sounded amazing. But 645 ampere hours now, nice. Okay, before it gets too hectic at the end of the battery test, let's have a look at the battery through the infrared camera. The battery cells have actually warmed up. Oh yeah, they are nice and cozy and warm now. So we can see here what's the difference. 36 degrees cell temperature. Wow, they have really warmed up. And you can see the terminals are actually colder. They've got a completely different color. So on here at the front, the fuse has cooled down a bit. It's around 47 degrees. So has the bus bar and the connection to the circuit breaker. Because we already have reduced the current from 100 amps to 70 amps. So this makes already a difference down here. BMS itself, no issues down there. So at least we know the top layer of the batteries is totally fine. There's no hotspot, nothing. We don't know anything about the bottom layer in the battery. From the outside, it looks good. So the multiplus just sees 45.35 volts. I think it turns off at 42 or something, so really low, but I don't want to wait until then. I think I'll switch over now to a dual system again, so separating the shelf and the power wall. So I'm turning on the top shelf battery now with this circuit breaker over here, and a split second later I'm turning off the 63 amp circuit breaker, which separates the two systems again. And then the multiplus will run from this system. I'll turn on the other batteries from the battery shelf as well, and we will keep running the other inverter, the Phoenix, from the MB56. Alright, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, on, off. Painless. Alright, let's turn all these ones on as well. This is just for the multiplus. We can see the voltage has risen to 52.7 because the battery shelf is probably at 95% or something. even maybe 100. Oh yeah, it says it up here actually. Battery shelf 100. There you go. 99.9. Okay, back in the BMS, we are still feeding 43 amps into the Phoenix, and we are 2.7 volts with cell number 2, which we have tested. And now we basically let it run until it turns off. We just hit the 649 ampere hours. Beautiful. Do we see 34 kilowatt hours? Yes, we will. And cell number 13 is at 2.79, cell number 5 and cell number 16. Yeah, we've got 156 millivolt deviation now. It's not too bad. You know, at this low voltage at 45 volts, 150 millivolt deviation is actually pretty cool. Cell number 4 is the strongest one here, 2.9 volts still. Holding up alright. Alright, I can see here 2.6 volts, cell number 2. We can see it, 220 millivolt deviation. Look at cell number 4, still almost at 2.9 volts. Very strong battery in here. Cell number 16 is at 2.6, 15, 13, 2.7. Yeah, they're all coming down now. Number 5, 2.6, not far away from cell number 2. Still pulling 45 amps at 45 volts. Okay, cell number 2 is just under 2.6 volts. This would be the cell with the lowest capacity, I guess. Okay, let's switch over to the smart shunt so we don't miss the end result, because the smart shunt will turn off at some stage then, once the BMS disconnects, and then we lose all the information. So 652.7 ampere hours, wow. 34 kilowatt hours exactly, maybe we see 34.1. 2.53. So 653 ampere hours and 34 kilowatt hours. That's basically the end result. 7 hours, that's it. Alarm, disconnect. 7 hours and what was it? I'll put it here on the screen again. Alright, that's the end of the discharge test of the MB56 battery. May I tell you, these cells are warm? I mean, not hot or something, but they are nice and warm. And the actual terminals they feel colder than the actual cell. So 7 hours, 100 amps warms up the battery just a tiny bit. So we disconnected at 43.7 volts, deviation 316 millivolt. Cell number 2, it was our lowest. I'll put the capacity of cell number 2 here on the screen, and this time we have only discharged it with 658 ampere hours or something. But this is normal. If you do a capacity test on a single cell, you always have more capacity than if you put this cell into a battery. You always get a bit less. Alright my friends, there you have it. Discharge test of the MB56 battery. 34 kilowatt hours, 600 and close to 660 ampere hours out of one battery. This is one battery, right? So if you get 2 of them, you get close to 70 kilowatt hours. And this is usually enough to supply power to a single house, even for 2 or 3 days without much solar coming in. I'll link all this information down below under the video and on my website as well about the Yixiang MB56 do-it-yourself case. The Yixiang MB56 cells, you can buy from them as well and put this all together yourself. It's a wonderful and beautiful do-it-yourself kit here. Really, really nice. Of course, it comes with a JK inverter BMS, 300 amps, 2 amp active balancer. And as you have seen at the beginning of the video, this JK-BMS does an automatic top balancing for you. And you have just to increase the voltage up to 57 volts then. And the battery is fully top balanced, fully automatically. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support. For over 116,100 subscribers now. It is mind-blowing. Thank you very, very much for all your nice comments and liking and sharing these videos everywhere. Thank you very, very much. Special thanks as always goes out to all the people who are donating to the channel here or becoming a channel member. They are keeping the channel independent. Thank you very, very much for that. Well, until the next video when we do something, I'll tell you then. Guys, until then, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye-bye. Oh, something very, very important. We have to turn on the solar again. so they can start working in the morning again, recharging the whole show. We don't want to forget that.